We want to show off our 3-week sprint. It's a full stack app that we built using Python and Django on the server side, and then React JavaScript on the client side. Our team is called the News-Hounds, so you'll see a dog theme throughout this site and just little bits of like dog-related humor. But the main thing here is that this site is intended to show different user roles. We have authors who can create content and do interesting things like tagging that content or reacting. And then we have an admin user role where you can approve posts when they're ready to go out to the more general audience. So right now, I'm logged in as a user who's an author with a few posts, but I'm currently not following anybody. That's why I'm seeing this message here telling me to go subscribe to some people. And I'm just going to start out by going to a list of all the posts, and I'm going to add a new one called Dogs Float. And I'll just grab my image URL and paste that in here. And then I'm going to need some content for my site. So I'll just paste in a little bit of Dogum Ipsum there. And I'm going to categorize this dogs only and add some tags to it and save that post. And there it is. So people will be able to tell me what they think of this. I think this is interesting. And now I'm going to scoot on over to the profiles section.
Here at the profiles section, you can see the other authors on this platform. What is a platform if you're the only author writing posts? You probably also want to read other people's posts. So we've been reading on this site for a while, and we know that Ghost Dog writes articles that we're very interested in. So we have the option to tail Ghost Dog, which is our concept of subscribing to a user. If you wanted to unfollow them, you could click the dog on button to get that dog out of there. But we're going to stay subscribed to them for right now. And functionally what this does is this updates our feed, which is like the homepage view. You can see that because we followed Ghost Dog, we can now view all of Ghost Dog's posts. And so anytime we log in, we would see a list of all the posts authored by users that we're following.
All right, and so, maybe like you really just want to check out Ghost Dog. On your feed, it's going to show you everybody that you subscribe to, but if we go back to profiles, and then we select Ghost Dog again, we can actually click on this post author link, and it will take us just to his post.
If you're logged in as an admin, you have the ability to approve posts, to make sure somebody is posting something that is, okay for the site. And by clicking the checkbox here, you're saying, hey, we're approving Dog Yoda found.
So if I come back to the original user who subscribed to Ghost Dog, and I refresh this list of subscriptions, here I can see this post on Dog Yoda.
If you're looking at a post detail page, you can see that there's a list of possible reactions you can add, and you see this current post has a few already added to it. I'm actually very, very upset by seeing this poor animal wrapped in this blanket. I think as a dog myself, this makes me feel like someone has just staged their dog like this, and he's not actually very happy. So I'm gonna say it makes me mad, and I'm gonna put the appropriate reaction. And I'm thinking about it now. I'm reading this very interesting text right here. It's making me second guess my initial reaction, which in this day and age, it's important to be able to take back what you have said or done online. So I'm actually going to remove that reaction and say that it's okay by me. So that's a feature of the site, is the ability to add and remove reactions as you see fit to post.
We wanted to take a minute and talk about some of the things we learned and the teamwork along the way in this project. And I'll just talk through the flow of this project. Was done over a series of 3 sprints. In our first sprint, we basically built out the core of the site using React and Bootstrap on the front end, and actually Python and just SQL on the back end. So there was no Django framework until the second sprint, where we replaced the whole back end of the project from being just pure Python and SQL to implementing the Django framework. And then in the third sprint, we were able to really use that Django framework to add a lot of features to the site that weren't in there. And all of that's visible if you go through the GitHub repos. You can see the history of this project. But I'll hand it over to the rest of the group to go through some of the lessons we learned along the way.
I think one of the biggest lessons for me, or one of the biggest takeaways, is just the advantage that you get as a full stack developer when you really understand how to send back exactly what data you might want on the client side for every particular request that might come in, and just getting a grasp on how to send a response back that looks like exactly what you want on the client end. Because I know before we got into kind of the back end stuff, when we were just on the client side, it was kind of tough sometimes to drill down through data that you were getting back from an API, and kind of felt like you were fishing around in the dark sometimes, or I did at least, and having to drill it down and down and down and do all these like convoluted steps in my client application just to get to the data that I wanted. And being in control of it and knowing how to send back exactly what would be useful on the client side from the server made life a lot easier once that data did get to the client. And that's something that I definitely am interested in getting an even better grasp on. So.
Yeah, kind of echo what Gavin said. One thing I liked was the custom properties. I mean, being able to send back exactly what you want to the client, and just being able to, for instance, the subscriptions, I was able to send back a Boolean value, which helped me on the client side see the state of the subscription, so it was able to, turn that subscribe button from tail to doggone and vice versa. So yeah, that was a really cool feature that I really like, and going to look more into that.
Yeah, I personally learned a lot more about Django in general, and especially like the Django ORM, kind of like the possibilities of what you can accomplish with it, with like just a line or two of code, which like produces like these incredibly complex queries behind the scene, but just kind of like how to think in that like mindset, working with an ORM instead of like raw SQL. And also another big learning thing was that since this app did like involve us completely swapping out the back end halfway through, we kind of had to like learn a lot about how to like maintain and like modify our client application to work with this new backend, which was like pretty quick, like it wasn't like completely like able to swap it out and like change nothing on the client. So it was just a good thing to learn, like things to keep an eye out for when you're like refactoring legacy code to make it work with new things.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the biggest things was just seeing how the client and server communicated, and really looking at, I look at back at when we were just doing front end, and I can see all of these things that we're doing in Django, and it's like, oh, well, we can do this so much easier on the back end with this, little line of code. And it was just really cool to see, and particularly working on the reactions, using the custom actions, I thought were just awesome.
Yeah, I learned a lot about translating other people's code. I hopped into the team on the second sprint when they had already, previously built their front end and their back end with Python and SQL. So I jumped in and we translated that and turned the Python into Django. But I'm gonna echo what everybody else said. Kind of navigating Django's ORM and like juggling the communication on the client side and the server side was a new experience. So definitely a lot of control there. But yeah, it was a great project.
Yeah. For sure. Well, thank you for viewing this presentation, and we also want to say a big thanks to Steve and Joe and Mo and Jack, our instructors and TAs who helped us learn what we know about Django and support us as we were putting it into action in this project. Thanks a bunch.